Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready to record this week's Mike in the Midwest. So let's do this. Looks like we're good to go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 246 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find in all the places you download podcasts. I grab my shows over at Pocket Casts, that great app, but you can get us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you download your shows, but you're a patron, so you know where to grab the show. So thank you so much for doing that. We're recording the show on Sunday morning, May 18th, 2025, in case you listen to this show later on. But hope you're having a great weekend, and hope everybody had a great Mother's Day weekend last weekend. I hope all the moms got to enjoy some time with their families, their friends, and got to kick back and enjoy the day. We had a great Mother's Day around here with Pam. Got to have some spaghetti factory with her mom and Pam and her sisters, and got to enjoy some pasta. And that was a great time. And got to kind of chill out around here. So it was always a good day. And of course, now we turn the corner and it's grads and dads time, which we'll be talking about in the main topic here in just a few minutes. But wow, the spring is going quick. It is a busy time of the year, and just hope you are doing well. So, what is going on around here at the Be Our Guest Podcast Studios? I'll tell you what, counting down to the podcast cruise. I cannot wait. We're under 50 days till we cruise. And I'm getting obsessed with the Disney Magic. I'm getting obsessed with seeing my friends that are sailing with us on the Disney Magic on July 6th. I can't wait to get to Walt Disney World on the 5th to do the bowling meetup over at Splitsville, seeing everybody hanging out, maybe having some good snacks. Going to dinner with Scott at a new restaurant at Rosa Mexicana that night. So I'm looking forward to that, a new experience. Just looking forward to being on vacation because with my line of work, I work every single day. I work on the weekends. Love my job, but it's going to be nice to be able to put down the computer for a week and get to just disconnect and hang out with friends and talk, just life, catch up with everybody, meet new friends, catch up with old friends that I haven't seen for a while, and just hang out. And I'm super excited for that. The Disney Magic was the first ship in the Disney Cruise Line fleet that I sailed back in 1998. Shortly after Disney Cruise Line launched, I went on the Disney Magic, not knowing anything about cruising, and had a great time. And so I have not sailed on that ship ever since. So I cannot wait to get back on the ship. I've been watching a bajillion vlogs of the ship, and it's so funny because I just really want to see the ship and just, like I like to see the different kind of staterooms. As you guys know, like I walk on the treadmill a ton and run. But when I run, I've said this before, when I run, I listen to podcasts because when I run, I can't manipulate the iPad, right? Because I would fall off. I would kill myself. My treadmill is like an inch away from a solid concrete wall. So if I fall off the treadmill, I'm going to smoke into the wall right behind it. It would be ugly. But when I'm walking, I can like scroll through, Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So the last week I've had this cruise fever. And so I've decided to go on YouTube and check out I just search Disney Magic cruise ship. And I'm finding, recent, like from 2025, anybody who has recorded anything from the Disney Magic. Now, all these sailings have been out of Galveston. So I know all about the Galveston port, which we're not sailing out of Galveston. Obviously, we're sailing out of Port Canaveral. These have all been cruises to Progreso, Mexico. So I know all about Progreso. The vlog I watched today was a family that there was a medical emergency on their sailing. And I got to see a Coast Guard helicopter hover above the Magic and pick somebody off the ship, literally with like a stretcher, lifted them up off the deck of the ship. I mean, with like a rope like a cable right into the helicopter, maybe 100 feet off the deck of the ship into the helicopter. I mean, that person, and according to the vlog, the person went to the house, they flew him to the hospital and they recovered. They were totally fine. But that would have given me a heart attack. I mean, like I was looking at that, you see him on the stretcher and, dangling above the top deck of the ship. And, obviously they do this for a living. These people are experts. They're great at it. The Coast Guard, God bless them. But holy smokes, it was harrowing looking. And of course, the whole ship's watching, right? It's on a sea. Well, I don't know if it was a sea day, but obviously it was gonna be a sea day. But the ship had turned around. Apparently, the person doing the vlog said they were they were headed to Progresso. That it was on a sea day because it was like a sea. It was like I headed out sea day Progresso. This was happening on the sea day towards Progresso, but they hadn't made it very far, so they were turned around and going back towards Galveston to take this person back. And then the helicopter came. So you get to see all kinds of, like, and, Scott does his vlogs, which are awesome. I love seeing those, but you get to see all kinds of takes on things, right? And so the thing is, when you go along with these people on their vlogs, like, you feel like you're part of the family, right? Like, they're gonna go get an ice cream tonight. So, and the funny thing is, I haven't been on a classic ship in forever. So I'm used to, deck 11 being where I get my ice creams and my flows, you know, pizza and stuff like that. I got to readjust that deck 9 is where I'm going to get my ice cream. And it's the Duck Inn Diner in Daisy's Delights for the wraps and the sandwiches and stuff like that. So I'm getting a wrap on it. But I mean, I'm so old. Like, I sailed the Magic such a long time ago that the Tangled restaurant, which is one of the 3 rotational dining restaurants on the Magic, back when I used to sail it, it was called Parrot Key. That was the name of that restaurant. It was a tropical restaurant. It was called Parrot Key, and totally different. It had a totally different theme, totally different restaurant. So I'm excited to do the Tangled restaurant, to meet, Rapunzel and the Ruffians, and I guess that's Flynn Rider and all that stuff. I know, because I've watched all these vlogs over the past like week to 10 days. I think I already know my order for all the restaurants because I've seen what everybody has ordered, in Animator's Palette. I'm excited to go to the old Animator's Palette because I've been obviously on the Fantasy and the Dream and so forth and the Treasure. That I've seen the new Animator's Palette a bunch of times at this point. So now I'm excited to go back to that old black and white uh style where it changes color and that kind of stuff. So I'm super excited for that. Um just excited to have that experience of the classic ship, the smaller ship. And the one thing that I have noticed in all these vlogs with the Magic is that everybody says you can really feel the motion of the ship, making me not nervous, but I'm going to respect that. So I probably will bring patches from the doctor. I don't normally get seasick, but I do want to be aware of that. I'm going to talk about all these things on the big show, but just in case you're listening, because I know Trisha listens to this and a few people are sailing with us, just be aware that people are mentioning this. So if you think you might have any sensitivity to the motion, just bring stuff. But also, new experiences like Lookout Key. I'm super excited because I'm seeing people walk around Lookout Key, never seen it. This is going to be totally new to me, to see the Junkanoo and all that stuff and the new options to dine there. And yeah, I'm all in. Like, I just can't wait to hang out with friends because we all hang out virtually in the Discord. Like, we talk to each other, we joke with each other, but it's all online. It's all virtual. But this time we'll be sitting in a beach chair, maybe a drink in our hands, sitting around picnic tables at, Cookies 2 on Castaway Key, or, a Lookout Key, having something to eat, or, at a tasting on the Magic, or, maybe at dinner at Animator's Palette. We're going to be having such a good time, or at a lounge, Scat Cat, or something like that. It's got, cruises are the best with friends. And I am so excited. And that's going to tie into the main topic about this time of the year. Something about this time of the year just gets me antsy for a vacation. It gets me like May. There's something about May, like especially this time of May, that gets me super antsy for a vacation. So that's kind of what's been going on around here. Also, I don't know. I know you guys saw this, right? St. Louis got hit by this big old tornado a couple days ago, hit downtown. Like, it went right through North St. Louis, which is North St. Louis is like the north part of St. Louis City. And where I live is west of the city. We live about 30 miles west in the suburbs in a place called St. Charles County. And so we're not in the city. We're about 30 minutes from the arch west, across the Missouri River. And but we got the hail part of the storm. And so I took a video of the hail and just put it on Twitter and Instagram, and it got picked up by all these news outlets because I put a couple hashtags. Apparently, my video was on the Weather Channel. It was on Fox News this morning because I have a Google alert on my name, like and the podcast. So, like, if the Be Our Guest podcast gets mentioned on Google or my name gets mentioned on Google, I get an email. There was a story. They used my video on the New Zealand on a newspaper in New Zealand this morning. I mean, it wasn't that big of hail. Like it was, I mean, it was okay hail, but we get this kind of hail like once a year. It wasn't like it was crazy. Like I've seen way bigger hail in Texas and Louisiana. This was like once a year average hail. I mean, it was bad. My next door neighbor, Brad, which I've mentioned him on the show, he has like a canopy over his, it got shredded. I mean, it looks like it went through World War II. There's holes all through that thing. It's like shredded cheese. So it wasn't, not bad. But I mean, our deck didn't get destroyed. It's fine. But like New Zealand, are you kidding me? It wasn't that bad. I mean, come on now. But it was so unfortunately the thing is we'll probably have to get a new roof, I'm guessing, if it shredded his revenue insurance person come out because everybody around here is getting new roofs. So we probably need one too. But I don't know if it was so bad that they need to pick it up in New Zealand. It's just crazy that the Weather Channel, people are emailing me like, I saw your video on the Weather Channel. Send me messages. Elaine Lively is like, I saw your video on the Weather Channel. And Amy's one of our listeners that's a flight attendant on Southwest. I saw your video on Fox News. I'm like, it's crazy. George as well from Hawaii said that. So just funny how things get around. Because it was like, I shot the video to send it to Pam because she was teaching at the time, and she was about 20 miles away in Florissant, and she's east of me. So I was like, here's what it looks like here right now. If you can get your car under somewhere, get your car under somewhere. You got about 10 minutes because it's coming your way. That's exactly what the point was. Then I posted on Twitter because I mess around. That's what I do. So anyway, that was fun. That was Friday. So how are things going where you are? And here's the good news. Monday, tomorrow, it's coming back. We got a level 3 thunderstorm threat again tomorrow, which is what it was on Friday. So the hits just keep on coming here in the Midwest in the spring. But here's the thing. I don't like this, but I'm a weather nut. And I've talked about this on the show. When my mom and sister would go to the pool when I was a kid, because we had season passes to Bangert Pool, which was right in our neighborhood, right across the street, a couple streets over from where we grew up. They would go and like lay out. My mom would lay out at the pool. My sister would swim in the pool like all summer. And I didn't like to swim. I didn't like to swim. I was kind of a nerd. Next to the pool at Bangert Pool was the county library. And so I would go into the library because it was air conditioned, and I just read books. And in there, one of the books I like to read were about weather. I remember reading because remember, I'm a little bit older, so you didn't have like the access to information about tornadoes and extreme weather. And so there were a few books in there about tornadoes. I remember I checked them. I didn't even check them out all the time, but I just read them because my mom and sister would stay at the pool for like 3 or 4 hours. So I just pull them off the shelves and stay in there and just pull them out and read them while I was there, and put them back on the shelves, and go get the Sports Illustrateds off the magazine rack and read those. And yeah, I mean, but I've always had that thing. Pam tells me that if I wasn't a teacher, I should have been a meteorologist, and I should have, because I love studying weather. Because I tell her, like, I think we're gonna get a snow day, and I'm pretty good about predicting that stuff. Looking at, because I have that expensive app that the weather people use, and I mean, I obviously haven't studied weather, so I don't know all that stuff, but I love just how dynamic the atmosphere is. I love just how amazing looking at clouds are. Like, I just love that. The creation is amazing, and I love seeing it. So, yeah. And I love like communicating it. So I would have loved to have been like a TV weather person. That would have been fun. That'd have been another career. I'm too old to get another career, right? I've been a teacher, been a travel agent, podcasting. Probably shouldn't pivot again. That'd be bad. Anyway, that was a fun week. So let's hit the feedback because it's supposed to be a mini podcast. I really meant this to be 15 minutes a week. Really, honestly, when I started it, because you get 4 other podcasts. I mean, how much time do you have? Because I hope you listen to other shows. I listen to like 20 other shows. No, I don't. I listen to probably about 5 other shows a week. But let's see what we got. So we talked about last week. I explained last week the thread over in the clubhouse called Mike's Favorite Things, and kind of told you that when I post things there, there's a story almost behind everything I post there. Like I posted last night a post about Little Debbie snack cakes when they were started by let me find it real quick. Who started that? The Little Debbie company. Mike's Favorite Things. By the Little Debbie company introduced the Swiss cake rolls in 1963. The reason I posted that is because my mom, when I was in elementary school, put a little pack of Swiss cake rolls in my lunch almost every single day. I've probably eaten 1,000 Swiss cake rolls in my life. They were just the staple. And the thing about Little Debbie cakes is they're so, I don't know. I think I had them because they were like poverty desserts because they were always cheap. Like the way I saw it growing up is if you were rich, you got the Hostess snacks. You got like Twinkies or you got Ding Dongs. Every once in a while we got those. I guess that was when times were good, but the poor kids like me, we got the Little Debbies. You got the Star Crunch, or you got the whatever, but you got cheap things. Little Debbie, like the varieties were the cheap things. Those like the poverty desserts to me. And now looking back, like I get the Little Debbie Christmas tree. I mean, you know that I love the Little Debbie Christmas trees. I get those things now because they taste like childhood. They're gold to me. I love those things. But back then, it was like a second class citizen when you had those. Another thing that I posted just a couple days ago was the book Danny and the Dinosaur by Sid Hoff. That book came out in 1958. You're probably like, why is Mike posting that book in Mike's Favorite Things? That was one of my favorite books as a kid. I love that book when I learned how to read. I just remember I carried that book everywhere as like a little bitty kid. And that was one of the very first books that I learned how to read on. And when my nephew, Austin, was learning how to read, like very, very young, I remember I was so proud, as an uncle, I wanted to like get him something. And I remember like I was so proud as an uncle, I bought him that book. Like, what can I get him? What can I get him? I searched it out. I'm like, I got to get him that book. And I couldn't remember the name of it. I was like, it was a book about a dinosaur and a kid. And I finally found it. I was like, oh my God, it was called Danny and the Dinosaur by Sid Hoff. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the book. So it's right there. Yes, Sid Hoff, Danny and the Dinosaur. And finally, there was a funny quote about Australian rules football and the guy in the hat that goes, whew, every time they score. I never understood Australian rules football, but that guy was awesome too. So that was last week. And here's the feedback from that show last week. Dennis, my good friend down in Texas, who makes the most awesome barbecue every week, says, I participate in several Discord communities over the past few years, and the Be Our Guest podcast Discord is by far the best. That means a lot. I really enjoy the overall positive vibe that permeates the entire Discord. Even when people disagree, they aren't disagreeable. The Mike's Favorite Things channel is such a great nostalgic kick, and it reminds me of all the fun it reminds me all the time how much things have changed since the 80s and 90s. The Rubik's Cubes post, the Big League Chew, the post about old games on the Atari or the Commodore 64, and some of the fast food ads take me back to a time when everything wasn't dominated by our phones and social media. Amen, Dennis. Everybody's so kind over there. Hey, how about the other day? I think I posted something about Taco Bell tacos being 59 cents. Okay, I posted that. Did I post that in there? I think I did. Yeah. Yes, I did. There it is. It also posted about Highlights magazine and I talked about that because I just read those every day at the pediatrician's office, and that Whammo clown sprinkler thing, which my friend Ryan across the street had because I thought he was rich, and he had the Whammo sprinkler with the clown head that was scary looking, but we had just the regular sprinkler that went back and forth because we didn't have it. But back to the 59-cent tacos. That was going on when I was in high school because that came out 89. It says on the post in 1989. I started my freshman year in 1989. So when I got my license in 1990, I was playing baseball, right? And I just remember after baseball practice, I had an MGB. I would drive to the Taco Bell after practice because I was so hungry. Now, I just remember, I think they had a like a Taco 10 pack, and you could buy it for like obviously $5.90 plus tax. And I would eat the whole dang thing. I'd eat 10 tacos. I mean, but I was like, I was a big dude. I was like 16. I that would be my dinner. I'd eat 10 Taco Bell tacos, hard shell. And sometimes I think I get them half and half, like soft and hard. But you could eat like 10 tacos for $6. And now this Taco Bell too that we used to go to in high school it was like the little bitty Taco Bell. I don't know if you remember how they used to look, but it had like 6 seats on the inside, and like the drive-through held like 5 cars. I don't know if you had those in your town. If you'd even, I'll try to find a picture somewhere, but it was tiny. Like it was the old school Taco Bell. I mean, it looked small because then it used to be a Lee's Chicken across the street and they converted it to a Taco Bell. It was like way bigger, but this was the old Taco Bell and it was so nostalgic. But yeah, that's why I posted that, because man, I destroyed Taco Bell. All right. And finally, Trisha says, I dropped a couple of ad pictures over in the Patreon Discord chat. Two iconic toys in my earlier childhood were Cabbage Patch Dolls and the Furby. Those dolls had a distinct baby powder smell, and it was always so tragic when the stitching at the knee or elbow would break, as the limb would instantly turn into nylon sausage. Furby's probably the most obnoxious toy invented, and so of course it makes an appearance annually at our Christmas gatherings. People will hide it throughout the house, trying to scare folks who walk by. It's pretty humorous. Okay, again, Cabbage Patch Dolls. My sister had one. My mom went to war in Target to get her one. I was there. It was wild. I mean, wild. I still remember that. It was crazy. And then my sister ended up getting like 2 or 3 later. I think a couple years later, the like Venom wore down, and they were easier to get. And she had a few more later on in life, but she had a few of them eventually, because I think they were like preemies, or there were different variations of them, kind of like the American Girl dolls later on with Mallory. But then speaking of the Furbies, yes. So Mallory, or was it Mallory or Paige? One of the girls had Furbies. That thing was weird, because isn't that the thing that would like speak its own language and you'd make sounds and or something? I just remember we had that out at Pam's parents, because like one year all the kids got them. And like, was that the thing that hatched? I can't remember, but I think there was a thing that hatched. Like it hatched out of an egg and then it learned its own language, and it was just, we had big eyes or something. Yeah, that was odd. And it would just like, I think if that's what you're talking about, that was the weirdest thing ever. It was, and God, that was a weird time. Anyway, thanks for the laugh, and thanks for my nightmare tonight. You guys are the best. I appreciate you. All right. So today's topic, this time of the year, something about this time of the year. So I've talked about it. This time of the year always gets me pumped up to go on vacation. It's like, it's not, school's not out, but it's almost out, right? For most people. This is the last week of school for Pam. This is it. And I don't think I've told you yet. Well, I've probably mentioned it in passing. She's retiring this school year because they're not getting raises next year. She's in a very difficult school district. She's taught 28 years. Super proud of her. So it's just time to go. It's time to move on. She's going to get another position. She's going to probably substitute teach after this year, do some other things, but this is it. This is her swan song. Super proud of her. Remember, we talked together. This is how we met. This is a big deal. But so Friday is going to be like an emotional day for me. But there's something about this time of the year, and what it is, I kind of mentioned the dads and grads, right? But I look back to when I was in high school, and especially like my senior year, because I'm seeing it with like Emily and Scott and his family. Mallory's going to be a senior next year. this time of the year is super exciting, but it's also kind of like it's very kind of unsettling too. Because I remember when I went through it my senior year, so I was excited, right? I'm just gonna give it to you from my point when I was a senior, what I was feeling. So I was on the baseball team, and so we were finishing a really successful baseball season this time of the year. So I was getting ready to graduate high school. I knew I was going on to college. I had my scholarship locked in. I had my, I was going to Missouri Baptist. I had everything locked in. I was good there. Um, but like we were still playing baseball, and I knew that as soon as baseball finished, baseball would continue because I was playing American Legion baseball, and we had a 65 game season over the summer for that. So it was just going to continue 2 days after the baseball season ended for high school. It was just going to continue all summer until August with basically the same team all through the summer. So baseball really wasn't going to end. But I do remember like the excitement building this time of the year because you had, graduation coming up in a couple days, like the end of the year. Seniors got out a little bit earlier than the rest of the school. You had, obviously we had something called Project Graduation. The night of graduation, it was a lock-in where it was a big party. We were all excited to go to that. But then there was like a morose feeling too, because you knew there was a finality to it. Because I really enjoyed high school. I loved high school. High school was fun. I played sports. I was in National Honor Society. I was in a lot of clubs. I got along well with my teachers. I got good grades. I went to a good high school. I had good friends. I had really good friends. And I don't know, maybe I'm one of those people that thinks too much about things and thinks about things down the line. I still do that a lot in life. And it's a positive and a negative sometimes, but I knew like that these days were fleeting, and I enjoyed them. Don't get me wrong, because Project Graduation was one of the greatest nights of my life. I remember sitting there. We had this like fake casino set up where you got, Monopoly money, and you could bet, and you could play roulette, and you could play blackjack, and you could, if you got enough money, you could buy like little this and that because the community donated TVs and CDs, and you could buy stuff with this fake money because it was all donated by businesses, and it was great. I mean, all the pizza you could eat and DJs and this Velcro wall like David Letterman had back in the day. It was an amazing night with my best friends. It was crazy. It was a nice night. And it was in our old high, it was in the high school. It was our last night we are ever going to be able to just run loose in our high school. And our high school was great. It had a pool, had, the gym and DJ and all this stuff. And but it was one of those things like this was it. There was a finality to it. And I just remember when that night was over that like the DJ, we all kind of met at the very end of it at 6 a.m. when it was over. The last thing was like we all went down to the gym, the DJ played End of the Road by Boys to Men, and that was it. And they kicked us out. And it was our cars were out in the parking lot. It was 6 a.m. It's kind of like that scene in, if you ever seen Varsity Blues, where the football team comes out of the strip club and they're just like all tore up. That was kind of us. Not so terrible. But that was kind of us like, oh dude, we're like, they're throwing us out, and now they're throwing us out into the real world. Like that is it. We are no longer going to Hazelwood Central, and now we're in the real world. So now what do we do? And, like I said, I mean, we all had jobs, we all had our part-time jobs. Like I said, I had to play baseball summer. I still lived in the same subdivision with my buddies. We all lived across the street in the same subdivision. We were going to see each other, but I knew we were all going to different colleges. My one buddy was going to Rensselaer, and I think that was in New York. My one buddy was going to DePaul. My other buddy was going to Greenville. We're going to be gone in the blink of an eye. We were not going to be going to school together again. And this time of the year, it's an exciting time. And I love seeing everybody on social media kind of accentuates this, right? You get to see everybody going to prom. You get to see everybody with their graduation pictures, and it's super exciting. And when you're a parent, I think that it brings back all those memories of your experiences. And I get super excited because like when I went to prom, it was fun. I loved it. Like we had a great time, but when I look back, like where we had prom at our high school was at this hotel that is no longer there. It was called Henry VIII. And it is now, if you ever fly into St. Louis, you land on top of where the hotel used to be because they took out the hotel to put in the new runway. So when you land in St. Louis, you land over where I used to dance for our hotel or for our prom. It was a great, great hotel, but you land right where I used to cut the rug. Um, but it's an exciting time, but but it's also something that has to happen, right? I mean, you have to pass through high school, move on to college, and that's how life is. It's an exciting time. And you just want everybody to enjoy that. And that's how life moves on. But my thing is, I hope everybody appreciates the moment, right? I hope it's not just like, oh, we're having prom and it's not a big deal, or we're having graduation and it's just a day, or I my thing is I want everybody to looking because again, I look back at it from somebody who is way 30,000 foot view on these things, who has taught school, who has had, I had 17 classes of students at this point in my life when I was teaching school. I've had two kids go through it at this point. Appreciate it because it's such an accomplishment to graduate. Think about how hard you work to graduate. And it's not just a celebration for the student, it's a celebration for the family. It's a celebration for the community. It's a celebration for the teachers. The teachers work to get you there. And it's not just the high school teachers, it was the elementary teachers, it was the preschool teachers, it was the Sunday school teachers, it was the aunts and uncles who helped you with the homework, when you spent the night. It's everybody had a part in that. But it's mostly the student who did the work, who got up and just worked so hard. I mean, that they're the one who needs to be celebrated, but enjoy it. I just hope that some people don't just get so focused on, well, I guess I got to get through graduation because in college I need to get this job, because you're so focused. I hope people don't worry about that. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a podcast. Nobody wants to be a podcaster. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a whatever, that they're not going to enjoy the graduation experience or the prom experience, because those things are so fleeting, they're so fast. And this time of the year is just one of the best times of the year. So this time of the year, it's one of those things like you can be morose because they go by so quickly and they're just gone. I mean, but that's how life is, right? Life, if you don't take a step back and intentionally enjoy experiences like this, they're gone before you know it. But if you really think about them and you say, I'm going to enjoy this time and appreciate it with those people and celebrate these things, I think you have a great time. So I'm going to enjoy my senior year with my daughter next year. And that's one of the reasons that Pam decided to she wasn't going to get a raise. She wasn't going to, she'll make the same amount of money with her retirement that she would have teaching, because the way Missouri system works, if she gets a part-time job doing something, substitute teaching and her retirement. So she's going to be there to help Mallory in her senior year. And so it's one of those things that we are going to enjoy our youngest child's senior year with her. And, because this is our youngest child, we want to intentionally enjoy that and be there for her. And, whether she likes that or not, we'll see. We're not like hovering parents. We're definitely not that. We'll just be there at all the football games when she cheers and all the basketball games. And we've always done that. I mean, that has not been anything different. We've been there freshman, sophomore, junior year, but we're going to intentionally be there, especially for everything for the senior year. Pam's in charge of the booster, helps with the booster club for the cheerleaders. So I don't even know where I was going with this show, but this time of the year is just such an exciting time because it's transitional, it's celebratory. And I see so many of our listeners posting on social media about how proud they are of their sons and daughters with their accomplishments, whether it's graduating from 5th grade, 6th grade, kindergarten, high school, college, getting new jobs. What a great time of the year it is. This is a really celebratory time of the year, but enjoy it. And I know you do, but just a reminder, grab on, enjoy it, because it all goes too quick. All right. If you have feedback on this show or any other show, you know where to drop it. Patreon.com/BeOurGuest Podcast. I appreciate y'all so much. I just hope you have a wonderful week. And we'll talk again next week. Live show tonight. Give us a call. Scotty G joining me. And he's going to be a proud papa tonight. I know he will. We're really proud of him too. All right. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.